Please welcome to the stage Kath Jones.
I'd like to share with you some statistics. The Office of National Statistics survey between January and March this year found that 21% of our population were suffering with depression. That's an increase of 10% since the pandemic started. And of our children surveyed, 67% of our children felt that the pandemic was going to have a negative impact on their mental health. I've always been concerned about the sustainability of our health and care services with the challenges that are now facing our population. And I believe this to be even more so true now. The University Hospitals of America has found the top stresses in life to be loss of a loved one, divorce, moving house, major illness, and a new job. So would you agree with me that throughout our lives, we're going to face many of these challenges? I'm Kath Jones, and I'm a Joy Explorer. And you might be wondering, well, what's a Joy Explorer? Well, I'm really passionate about living my life with joy, with passion, with purpose, and with authenticity, and helping others to do the same. I'm an experienced leader in health and social care, and I'm a coach, a meditation teacher, and most importantly, a mum to my beautiful daughter Emma, who's 15. And you might be wondering, well, why am I here talking to you about this today? Well, if you'd have been with me on the 30th of May 2020, you would have found me in my kitchen. The sun streaming through the windows, the birds singing, the sun shining. It was a beautiful day. However, inside, I felt like shit. My daughter Emma runs into the kitchen making a lunch. Mum, have you seen on the kitchen unit? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, all right, Emma, I can count. 10 bottles. Yeah, have you never heard the song 10 Green Bottles? Yeah, I don't think they were this what I was singing about at nursery, Mum. 10 bottles. 10 bottles in 5 days probably is a little bit excessive, but it's the holidays. My phone's ringing. Cheryl. Let me tell you a little bit about Cheryl. So Cheryl gave up drinking 5 years ago. And I know her from the Live, Love, Laugh Lounge. She's one of the ladies that runs the lounge. She always seems to know when's the right time to ring, or potentially when's the wrong time to ring. Hi, Cheryl. Yeah, I'm fine. Well, yeah, I'd almost convinced myself. Yeah, it's been my holidays this week. You know, we've had a really, really lovely time. We should have been at the holiday village, but you know, we've been canoeing on Chorley Canal, we've been to Rivington Beach, we've had a lovely time. But yeah, probably have drank a little bit too much looking at what's in front of me. Why did I drink? I don't know really, bit sad. I wanted to celebrate. Bit lonely. Maybe a bit anxious. Didn't want the night to end. Sun was shining. I think I had any excuse under the sun, really. I just had this empty feeling in my stomach. What, you've had that as well? Really? I thought it was just me. Yeah, I know I need to be kind to myself. I know. Yeah, I'll think of something nice to do for the rest of the day. Yeah, and I know I can call you. Thanks, Cheryl. A few hours later, you'd find me on my kitchen unit. Same place, tapping away on the wooden surface. Kath, you do not need a drink. You do not need a drink. Right, what can you do instead? Go for a run? Don't really feel like that. Meditate, not very exciting. Netflix, I'm already on season 5 of This Is Us after a couple of weeks. Food could be an option. Dig out my laptop. Googling ways to reduce drinking. The universe is definitely speaking to me. The alcohol experiment starts tomorrow. 30 days of abstaining from alcohol. 30 days? 30 days? That's like a whole month? A 12th of a year? I've never really even managed dry January properly. Have you ever felt terrified about something? That day I was absolutely terrified, but I knew I had to do something. Click here to register. You are enrolled. Have you ever wondered how something started? As I sat there, I'm thinking back where my relationship with alcohol started. And it was when I was a teenager. I'd never actually had a weekend other than being pregnant and when I was attempting at dry January to have a weekend off the alcohol. But have you ever heard that phrase? If something needs to change, something needs to change. Now, I'd love to tell you that it was easy. But like anything in life, right, the difficult things are always ups and downs. And what followed was certainly a roller coaster. So June, majority of June, after I'd passed the initial week of getting the alcohol out of my system and the ups and downs of the emotions appearing that I'd previously numbed with alcohol, June wasn't too bad during the week. See, week time drinking had never been a problem for me. So after a few things, I'm actually starting to do nice things for myself, doing more meditation, doing more exercising. In the week, I felt really good about myself. The weekends in June, however, were a bit of white knuckling it when I was on the Zoom calls with my friends. That was a little bit of a different experience at the weekends. But I did it and I got through the 30 days. Come August, you'll find me pretty much as I was back in May. You see, the thing was, I did the 30 days, but I didn't have a plan. And I thought that moderation could work for me. I'd done a month without alcohol, and surely by now, my stop button would have got some strength. But actually, at the weekends, the stop button really hadn't managed to get that much strength within it. So on the 24th of June 2020, I decided that moderation was not for me and that I needed to take alcohol out of my system until I'd learned how to find peace and joy in other ways. Now, October, my finding peace and joy in other ways had probably resulted in a bit of pressure elsewhere on my waistline. So my pleasure and joy came a lot from food and telling myself, can eat what I want, don't need to exercise as much, I'm doing the hard work with alcohol. Sadly, it caused the pressure on my waistline. So I enrolled with Adam to start a fitness program and a nutrition program. And we were going well until I got COVID. Now, I've been working in the health service throughout the COVID pandemic, so it's not really a surprise that I ended up with COVID. And initially I thought, I'll get over this quickly. But after 3 weeks, it absolutely brought me to my knees. And in a way that I'm truly grateful for. With the help of Sophia, I went through a grief process. And a grief process of my 21-year marriage that had ended the year prior, grief around a miscarriage, and grief around alcohol. I actually wrote a letter to alcohol because I was missing it so much in my life. But after that, I started to feel things ease. I started to feel my body healing. I started to feel my mind healing. And things were great over Christmas and New Year, my first sober Christmas, my first sober New Year. And then I came to my first birthday, being single and without alcohol. And, yep, you guessed it, no, not the alcohol, but cake. Now picture this. When I have a bit of a dodgy week on my plan, I have to jump on a Zoom with Adam to tell him what went wrong and where I've got a bit off track and what I might need to do. We're on Zoom. He's sat there, tall, dark, looks a little bit like Action Man. I'm sat there feeling somewhat guilty. So Kath, tell me, what's happened this week? Well, it's been my birthday and it's been Valentine's Day, and I was sat there looking at Facebook, looking at everybody's pictures of the lovely nights out, and whilst I had a really nice birthday, I was feeling quite lonely on my own. And so, you know, I'm allowed a cheat meal. Well, good news is I didn't have a meal, I just had dessert, but, you know, a lot of dessert. Well, it's all right, Kath, it's your birthday. You're allowed cake. Am I allowed 16,000 calories worth of cake? What? 16,000? Yeah, like 16000. My goddaughter is this amazing baker, and she left these cakes after my birthday, and I ate them all. But Kath, why did you eat? Well, I just had this void in my stomach. Nothing I was filling it. And I kept eating and eating and eating until I'd filled it, until I felt really, really sick. Have you ever heard that law that if you have a void and you don't fill it with something, that the universe will naturally fill it for you? Well, I realised that day that I'd taken alcohol out of my life, but actually I'd not replaced it with something really positive and really nourishing. So I'd started to use exercise, I'd started to use good nutrition, I'd started to use meditation, but I'd not filled with that really positive feeling that alcohol gave me. I'd not found a way to really fill it with joy. And so that was the next start of my journey, to really find how I get that feeling that I get from the first sip of alcohol without it. Now, I made some really good progress with this, and then in May, it was my friend Simone's birthday. We had an amazing time, afternoon tea, the sun was setting, the music was playing, and I picked up a champagne flute. Now, I found some quite good substitutes of alcohol-free fizz. Sparkling tea for a zero. I could give you some very good recommendations. However, I accidentally picked up my friend's glass. Took a sip. It tasted absolutely vile. However, the immediate soothing effect that it gave me, I cannot describe. It showed me that day that I cannot put that substance back into my body in any way, shape or form until I know how to find that soothing feeling that the first sip of alcohol gives me. Now, I did think everybody else is drinking around here. Nobody would notice if I had the rest of this glass. However, I would know, and I would know that I compromised my 280 days of sobriety. I wasn't prepared to do that, but it was an absolute lesson to me with that accident that I cannot consider to put the substance back in my body. As I was going along this journey, I started to share some of my learnings, some of my experiences on Facebook, in my alcohol coaching groups, with some of my friends. And people started to tell me that they were really kind of inspired and found some of the stuff that I was sharing really helpful around things that they were going through too. Now, I've got to be honest, I did find it a little bit self-indulgent at first when I was sharing this stuff on social media, but because people said that they'd found it helpful, I carried on sharing it. And because I'm quite a structured person and I like method, as I was learning more about myself and learning more about how I was finding my own joy, I started to put it into a bit of a structure. And I developed what I call the Joyful Life Liberator. Now, there's 5 components to this, 5 ingredients to this, and they, like any good family recipe, you can put things in a little more, take things out a little more, whatever works for you. But I found that these things were the things that I really needed to focus on for me to keep myself joyful. And as I've gone through this journey, I've found that I can find joy in the really small things, like the sunshine on my face, like having a little cuddle with my dogs, like a nice cup of coffee, and like journaling. I'm finding the joy in really big things, like experiencing parties in a different way, like holidays in a different way, and most importantly, learning to be with myself that I never ever could be before. So, I'm going to share with you the ingredients now, the 5 ingredients to this recipe. The first is embrace. Now, what do I mean by embrace? Well, I mean embrace yourself. I truly believe that unless you understand yourself, understand what your emotions are telling you, and accept all parts of yourself, it can be really difficult for you to live a joyful life. Unless you accept and love all parts of yourself, how can you expect anyone else to? I really believe that the most important relationship that you have is with you, and if you get that right, then everything else will flow from it. Does this make sense to you? The second part of the recipe, the second ingredient of the recipe, is your ethos. And by your ethos, I mean your mindset. So, as I've already said, I think it's really important that you're mindful about your emotions. But actually, if you notice that you're in a bit of a funk, being really mindful and focusing on what is the mindset that you can take to move you away from it. So it might be changing your physiological state, it might be dancing, it might be going for a run, it might be singing, but knowing what it is that changes your state. Or it might be just focusing inwards, feeling gratitude and feeling appreciation. Because actually, if you're in a state of gratitude and a state of appreciation, it's really difficult to feel negativity at the same time. So what is it for you that you know can change your emotional state, change your mindset if you're feeling in a little bit of a funk? The third recipe in the ingredient is your energy. Now, by your energy, I mean your physical energy. So I think many of us know the importance of exercise, of good nutrition, but I don't think it's just this. I think it's about getting enough downtime, getting enough technology break, getting enough sleep, and really being present with your environment. The research around nature and the positive impact that nature has on your brain is absolutely astounding. So it's really important the environments that you're in, be it outside in nature or inside in your home, really support your well-being. Raise your hand for me if you've got a smartphone. Now, I bet if you've got a smartphone, you know what will be taking you into that red zone and how quickly you're going to go into that red zone and what might be the things you're going to do. So I'm sure you'll know where your charger is, where your lead is to get into, plug into your laptop, or taking down, closing down your apps to save some of that charge. But let me ask you, do you know when you're running into that red zone in your body? And do you know what it is that is going to bring up your charge quickly? I believe it's so important that we look after our bodies as well as we look after our smartphones. Are you doing that right now? As the great Jim Rohn says, our body is the only place that we have to live, and it's so important that we take care of it. The fourth ingredient in the recipe is enjoyment. Now, I received quite a lot of ridicule about prioritising enjoyment as an adult, but for me, getting into a fun state, I found quite difficult. I'm a naturally serious person, and as a child, I don't remember many fun experiences. So for me to connect back to that, I found quite challenging at the start of this journey, and alcohol allowed me an easy way into that. Barbara Fredrickson states there are 10 positive emotional states. And to be really happy and healthy and resilient in our lives, we need to experience these 10 states. And one of them is amusement. Now, I found a way into my amusement through watching funny films, through watching comedy series, comedy shows when I could actually get there. But I also had to find things that brought me joy. And so I created a bucket list. And to be fair, I've not managed to do many things on that bucket list because of COVID, but I've started to build up a list of things that I know will really fill my heart, fill my soul. And when I'm struggling, I'll go to that to think what's the thing I can do today or this weekend. But it's not just about the big things, it's about the small things too. So each day I have a joy alarm that I set and my favourite dance music goes off. And I'll just check in with myself about where am I feeling right now? Am I feeling joyful? Am I feeling positive? And if not, do something to change that. And I don't mean a big thing, I mean just stepping outside or going on my rebounder or going making myself a cup of coffee. When was the last time you checked in with your emotions? And when was the last time you checked about how joyful you were feeling? The fifth and final ingredient of the recipe is your ethics. And this is how you bring it all together. So all of these things, I believe, bring you joy. But unless you take action, then if nothing changes, nothing changes. I could say that I did a lot of shelf development in my early years. I had a lot of books, I read a lot of stuff, but didn't put a huge amount of it into practice. And on this journey, I've found by making really small changes, I can make really big impacts. So the things that I was talking about earlier, the journaling. The journaling I've been doing as I've been going through my alcohol quit journey, I've turned that into a book called Finding Joy Within. I never thought I would write a book, but the journaling has given me a new focus for my writing. My exercise and nutrition, I started to take really seriously and look at the positive changes that I was making. And last week I did a photo shoot which was showing some of the transformation that I'd made in my body because of these small changes that I was really, really proud of. And pride isn't an emotion that I could have accessed easily without alcohol before. So what are the small changes that you can make that could make really big differences in your life? Or what might be the big domino that you need to take down to enable you to unlock all these great things? For me, alcohol was the big thing I needed to unlock to give me time, to give me my mornings back, to give me my energy back, and to give my health back to enable me to make some really positive changes. Now, I'm still a work in progress and I'm still on this journey. I've been working on my own personal development for 10 to 15 years now, and I believe it's an ongoing journey. There's 1,440 minutes in each day, and I believe we have a responsibility to make those as joyful as we can, not just for us, but for the people around us. I believe God created us all to live joyful and happy lives, not just some of us, but all of us. Throughout my journey, I've had a huge amount of support from coaches, from mentors, from friends. And I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't had that support and encouragement from people. So the reason I'm sharing my story today, and the reason that I've written the book, is that if you're trying to deal with challenges in your life, that knowing that someone else has been there and giving you that hope and encouragement might help you feel that you're not so alone and that joy is possible without external distractions in life. If you'd enjoyed my talk today and you'd like to know more about the tools and techniques or read the book, then click on the link below. I'd like to thank you for your time and wish you a truly joyful day.